The BNSF-9 with a variety of different freight cars. Nothing in particular, but it's been a while since I've done one of these live streams, and I figured it would be fun just to run some trains and talk to all of you fine people out there. So hopefully some people will start to join in here soon. I set it to live chat as always, so I hopefully don't miss anybody's comments. Anyways, I'll pick up the pace with this a little bit. Trying to get some different angles of this going by too, probably. Whole bunch of people joining in right now. Welcome, everyone. Sounds like something might be derailing the grain hopper. Second time it's done that today. I don't know what's causing it. Hey, SMT, love the Hiawatha, especially your grandmother's Hiawatha. Well, I do too. Thanks. Modern Model Trains, welcome. Peter Beener. Well, folks, in today's live stream, I saw a Santa Fe war bonnet the other day. Any PRR Steam? I don't know if I own any right now. However, there is going to be something special coming along very soon. I bought something on eBay, and I can't wait to show you all. It's by Bowser, but I'm not saying what. I think the Dash 9 derailed. Love the BNSF Loco. It's a fantastic locomotive. I love the AC 4400s, the Dash 9s. All the engines that kind of size, you know, built by GE. And the BNSF just had a fantastic paint scheme. I think it was based off the Great Northern's paint scheme, which was also fantastic. Anyways, let's see if we can get this going again. SMT, could you please run the American Freedom Train? We could try. That thing doesn't run very well. I still haven't got the wheels and parts for it, but yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. We'll let this go around for one more loop, and we'll try to get that going. Broadway steam locomotives are the best. I'm buying the Streamlined I4. I saw the Norfolk and Western E8 a few days ago. Wow. Could you run the Delaware and Lackawanna locomotive? Yeah, I'll have a look for that. The Gillian Group. Great videos, SMT. Keep it up. Thank you. When I was little, I used to do a tug of war with my HO scale trains. It ended up damaging the couplers. I've never seen a coupler get broken, but it is very hard on the drive. You could easily burn out a motor doing something like that. Hey SMT, I'm considering getting an AHM 060 for a custom project. If you have any experience with them, can you tell me how well they do to operate? Are they hard to repair? Thanks in advance. I don't think I've worked on a 060 AHM locomotive, but the AHMs are decent locomotives. They're not high-end. They're not going to be the quietest runners, but they are generally very simple engines. So if you're just looking for something to run around and you're not too concerned about it being super precise, it will probably be fine. Just don't expect the best performance. But as for servicing it in comparison to a modern locomotive, it's way easier. Almost all locomotives built kind of before the 90s are pretty easy to work on generally. It's only when you get into like the custom die-cast stuff, things can get a little messy, but most basic engines like the Atherns and stuff from just about any year before the 90s, they're pretty simple. Gerald Rete, hey SMT, have you received my parcel yet? If it came in a IGA bag, I did. Here, I'll see for all the people. I think it's that one. I still haven't removed the label, so I won't show it, but I think it's that one. How many modern locomotives do you have? This is generally where I keep my modern locomotives. Some of them are relatively modern. I would say probably 30, somewhere along those lines total. Now, we need to find the American Freedom Train. It's right here. SMT, would you recommend HO or O scale? Hold on a moment here, I'm losing this comment. I have an MTH Pennsylvania locomotive and a BNSF HO. I don't know which scale to pick. Personally, I prefer HO scale just because it's a bit more compact, so you can build a lot more in the same space. But O scale is very special. There's nothing like having the big trains. You know, they have a lot more presence to them. So it's really just a matter of preference. But for me, I personally prefer HO. And if you're somebody too that likes to build something realistic, I'd probably go with HO. I find the O scale stuff, especially the older stuff, is very unrealistic. But it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just all about what you're looking for. Hey SMT, do you know how to fill a Bachmann smoke unit? Because I have an N and WJ class, the 600, and it has a smoke unit inside. I got the thing full of smoke fuel or whatever you call them. I think you're just supposed to put 2 or 3 drops down the smokestack, and that should land on the element. I know later Bachmann locomotives have a switch in the cab, which you are supposed to turn on and off in order to activate the unit. But a lot of them burn out, so if yours isn't working, that could be why. But don't put too much, because a little bit should go a long way. Anyways, we're now going to run the American Freedom Train. I don't remember if this is still programmed to 3 or not. It probably is. Let's have a look. Yeah, it is. So predictable. Anyway, let's see if we can get this thing a lap around the layout without it derailing. This might be a challenge. Sounds great. You see the wheels are already messed. These engines are supposed to be capable of handling 22 radius curves, but they never do. Bachmann just did a bad job, frankly. I think the flanges on the wheels are too slim. They were probably aiming to make these look a little more realistic, but I have Rivarossi engines with similar sized wheelbases, and they don't seem to have these kinds of problems. Also, that grain car has come off again, so let's try. I guess I'll just remove that. I didn't even notice this thing has plastic wheels. That's no good. Hey SMT, do you have any Southern Pacific SD40-2s? Yes, I have the one from the 1984 Olympics. I think it's 84. 82 or 84, I think. Hello from Western France. Wow. Harrison, do you think you could run a doodle bug? I don't see why not. There are a few other requests which have been sent in, which I'm going to try to do first, but yeah, probably. All right, let's see if we can get this thing the rest of the way around the layout. How many trains do you own? About 400 locomotives total. Hey SMT, a few days ago I got my first large HO scale steam locomotive. It's a 282 Tyco with no railroad. I got it from a thrift store. Very nice. Hopefully I'll be able to get that thing going soon with some track and a controller of some kind. Can you run a Dreyfus Hudson? Probably so. Somebody wanted me to run the Blue Goose earlier, but that doesn't work right now, so. And this thing has gotten stuck. I don't know if the engines came off the track or if the train derailed again. It's too bad, because it is a beautiful looking locomotive. You know, the Daylight is one of my favorite engines, but frankly, trying to run this thing is just a pain in the neck. I don't even think I'm going to bother trying to get it around. So we'll put something else on, and that will probably work about 1,000,000 times better than this. I don't know really how to fix this, but just look at the size of the flanges. Like, there's nothing there to grip the rails. Like, I'm not really surprised these things have problems. Like, you have to have, like, the most level track out there in order for that to work properly. Anyway, somebody wanted me to run the Delaware Lackawanna locomotive. I know this engine is not far away because I just reorganized this shelf. However, I don't actually see it. Might be somewhere on here. Yes, here it is. There we are. Hey SMT, I see I got the package I was sending to you back. I'm gonna run it at my train club with the B unit, and hopefully someday you can have a A-B set. And Gerald Ratte wants the DDX40 from the Canadiana, so I guess we'll try to run that. I have to get a small shelf or something to put all the trains people request, that way I don't forget, because there are a couple in there. I was also supposed to run a Southern Pacific. I haven't forgotten about that yet. Okay, this is 405. Yeah, I probably never actually programmed it from the factory settings. That is correct. My friend gave me her dad's old lifelike GP40. It runs badly. Any advice? Well, without having a look at it, I can't tell exactly what era it's from. If it's from the 80s or the 70s or the 60s, they all have different drives, but generally the same rules apply, which is that if you just keep everything, you open it up, you clean it out, service the drive, just check in on the motor, you can probably get it working again. The first thing I'd probably check though is the wheels. A lot of the lifelikes, the third generation lifelikes, their wheels oxidize ridiculously quickly, and that's where a lot of problems can occur. I'll try to find an engine just so I can actually show you exactly what it is I'm talking about there, but I'll get this one going first. Alright, so that seems to be running quite nicely. While that goes around, I'll try to find some lifelikes. The lifelikes are one of my favorite brands, actually. Okay, so here's an engine from the 70s. You can identify it's from the 70s because the wheels are chrome. So if you got one like that, there's a motor right here. You just need to clean that up and take this apart. It's hard for me to explain it without actually doing it, but that's that. But the ones you have to really look out for in terms of performance are the third generations. You can see this one has super shiny wheels. That's because I polished them up. But in a lot of cases, if an engine like this has been sitting for a long time, these wheels will be completely darkened and power won't flow. And sometimes just running them will get them going again. Either way, lifelikes are generally easy engines to work on, so you should be all right with that. ASMT, do you think we could see one of the main central F units on later? Yeah, I don't see why not. Let me get some trains off the shelf that I'm supposed to run, though, just so I don't forget. So, requested is the Canadiana, Southern Pacific, which is right here. You pulled back the flag and I got just... Yeah, no, the collection, I'm not trying to show off here, but yeah, the collection's a bit bigger than it appears, maybe. Yeah, now I'm finally looking for a main central unit of some sort. Probably this one. Do you have a Pioneer Zephyr? I can't say I do. Alright, so we'll let this go around for I don't know, 2 more laps and then we'll run some other things. In the meantime, I'll get my tripod set up just so that all of you don't have to deal with my shaky hands. You run the TGV. Maybe so. I'll have to think about that request for a moment just because that takes a little more time to set up. Somebody also wanted me to run a Doodlebug. The Chesapeake and on fire. I don't want to run that engine. The motor was not going very well last time, and I'm concerned that it's going to burn out soon. Do you have any British trains? I've got a few. Not a terribly large collection in terms of the British stuff, though. All right, let me go find a Doodlebug. Well, it's not a Doodlebug, but I do have this Interurban, which I bought at one of the recent train shows. I freaking love this thing. It's awesome, so we'll run that. Actually, I do have something to show everybody, which is a Doodlebug. Hold on a moment. A lot of people in my Arn Pryor train show video were not happy. The N-scalers of you out there were not happy I did not buy the Doodlebug. Funny story. So the guy was selling the Doodlebug for this price right here, $29, and then they had a discount. So I think this was something like a $25 engine with their discount. Pretty good deal for one like this. But when I went to film the video, I couldn't find it anywhere, and I was so confused, and I concluded that I had left it at the train show. Well, I was cleaning out the car the other day, and look what I found under the seat. So I was driving around, and it slid out of the box and slid right under the seat. So here it is, my new to me N-scale Canadian National Doodlebug. I might try to run that later. Did you ever get new magnets for the Varney motor? I haven't, but I also haven't tested whether or not the coils on that locomotive are good or not, and I think there's a good chance that they're shorted pretty badly, unfortunately. Alright, well, I think that's enough laps for that locomotive. The brakes don't work very well. Let's try throwing it in reverse here. Did you forget about the Dreyfus? Not that you reminded me. Alright, just let that coast to a stop. I think we'll run the main central locomotive first, just because we're running the layout on DCC right now, and the main central is also DCC, because most of the other engines we're going to run later are DC, so we'll just leave it switched onto this. I think I did reprogram this engine to 672, so we'll look. Yeah, all right. Do you like Wendy's? Yeah, Wendy's is all right. Trying to get some different scenes of it going along. The main central had a very pretty paint scheme. I quite like both the green and burgundy ones. I have an old motor. It ran, but the coil did go bad. A bad coil, is not necessarily, a reason to throw away a motor. It just means that its days are kind of numbered. But that's okay. There are tons of engines I have, and I'm sure the motors, if I was running them every single day, the motors would not last terribly long, but it just doesn't matter. I'm not running them that much, so it's not really worthwhile replacing the motor unless it does actually burn out. Hey SMT, I bought an Athearn DD42 motor, but one of the motors spins backwards. What should I do? Probably means it's wired backwards. Because if you wire, if you switch the positive and negative, the direction of how the wires flow to the motor, it will change the direction that the motors go. So that shouldn't happen, but it could. That or somebody swapped the magnets around and put them backwards. That could cause that too, but I think that's less likely. What do you think of Proto? Proto engines are pretty good. Their older ones from the 90s have what's a very common problem, unfortunately, with older locomotives. It's cracking gears. But they sell replacement parts still, so that's good. And they're basically Athearn Blue Box knockoffs, and Athearn Blue Box locomotives are some of the toughest ever built. So they're more realistic, less reliable. That's the trade-off. What do you prefer, Bachmann or Athearn? Athearn every day. Bachmann engines, if you can find them cheap, they can be all right, but they have the most problems in my experience. The old Athearns, and as far as I know, a lot of the new ones are very reliable, but those old blue boxes, those things never break. I mean, they do break, but they're very easy to service, and the parts hardly ever. I've seen maybe 2 Athearn Blue Box motors actually burn out, and that's very rare. I have a ton of them too. Hello, can you run the Hiawatha? Because it's almost my 2-year-old's. Maybe so. Hello from Como, Italy. Oh, got somebody right from where Rivarossi started. Do you have any Hornby trains? Only a couple. Can you run the HCW? Unfortunately, all that's packed away at the moment because I brought it to the train shows. SMT, in terms of current manufacturers, who is the best around in your opinion? It's kind of hard to say because most of the manufacturers today, I'd say, have gotten so good at making their models. A lot of them have been in the industry for so long. They're all very reliable. I think the most common problems you're going to experience with a modern locomotive are electrical issues. So they're all good, maybe with the exception of Bachmann. The only issue is the price, really. So I don't really think there's a bad one these days. They're all pretty good. But I've yet to see one that's still budget friendly. All right, well, I think we'll run something else now. Probably next up is the Canadiana locomotive. We haven't run that in a while. Not so sure how it's going to do, but we'll give it a shot. How's the Lionel steam locomotive doing? It's still running great. I bought it, for anybody that doesn't know, I bought my very first stow scale Lionel engine at an antique store for $30 in non-working condition. Fixed it up and yeah, it's been solid. Those Lionel engines from the 50s they just last forever. It's kind of wild. They really built those things with so much care. Alright, so now we're going to try to get this locomotive running. Apparently it's programmed to 3. Don't know how much it's going to like that new S-curve, but we'll try it out. Yeah, This thing is not very fast. A DD40 plus an S-curve equals uh-oh. I just finished my layout and I'm gonna send you something for 60,000 subscribers. Well, if the channel happens to reach that, thanks a bunch. Well, the power of Athearn Blue Box pulls through once again, even on a locomotive that was probably the 50s era, which, you know, those engines were not as good in my opinion. What a legend. Well, I gotta say, folks, I'm very impressed. I didn't think I was actually gonna handle that S-curve, but I think those deep flanges are probably working on its side. This is a random but specific question, but do you have a Tyco Ralston Purina dog chow car? My uncle gave me one and I love it. I have one somewhere, I don't know where it is, but it was featured in a video I made about putting cat treats on a train and running it around my living room. So, you can find that somewhere. Can you run something epic? Got something kind of epic. Anyways, I'm quite happy with that. I think we're gonna run something else. So, on the topic of things that are epic, we have the Southern Pacific 1980 something or another Olympic Games locomotive. Maybe it was the 70s, I can't remember. Well, it is 1984. Anyways. Oh, it actually is knuckle couplers. Very nice. Can you run a steam locomotive? Yeah, sure. We haven't run one this live stream. Can you please run a Conrail locomotive? Maybe so. We have quite a bit in the queue right now. How long do you think my Burlington Northern SD42 will last? I believe it's from the 70s and I run it every other day, thanks. There are a lot of different factors, so it's really hard to say how long it will, you know, last in total, because obviously it depends on how well you take care of it. And if you're changing the oil frequently and servicing the motor, which I would say is probably the most important thing, checking in on the motor, cleaning up the commutator, if you're putting a lot of mileage on it. But provided you look after those things, I don't think it's gonna burn out on you. You know, I have Athearn Blue Box engines that are over 60 years old. They haven't been maintained until I've gotten them. I don't run them a lot, but still, again, they've gone 60 years without being maintained. And they're such straightforward locomotives that with just a little bit of care, they pretty much run forever. I have a ton of Blue Box in my collection, and I suspect they will probably still be running maybe after I'm here. I don't know. We'll see. I bought this train off eBay and it only works when I turn my controller all the way up and it doesn't go very fast. That does not seem like a great sign. It's kind of hard to check, but if the wheels are sparking, it could be a sign of a short circuit. Because if it's going really slow like that, you're giving it full power, it should be moving at least, you know. The other thing could be a motor, which has a lot of carbon buildup on the commutator. That's probably one of the most common issues with modern locomotives, especially with older ones. I'll show you all what I've been talking about, because I mention this all the time, but I rarely actually explain what it is that happens. So here's your motor. I know they're different from manufacturer to manufacturer, but this is really where you need to look for trouble. So right in the commutator, you got these little gaps between each plate. And what happens over time is the carbon from these brushes wears down, and that's conductive. So when it gets in these gaps, it actually connects the power around the entire commutator, and it basically makes a giant short circuit. You know, these should be individual, you know, spaces for the power to flow, but it becomes one big part. So what you need to do is take something really soft like a toothpick and scrape those out and clean them out. And your motor will run more efficiently, it will last longer, and you know, sometimes if there's a bit of a funny smell on older locomotives, that's why. So that's where you want to look. I didn't know that for many years, but I can tell you just from fixing a lot of trains, it makes a big difference. Anyways, we're now going to run the Dreyfus Hudson, which was requested a while back. Not sure how well it's going to do with this size of train, because River Aussies are not the greatest pullers, but let's give it a chance here. All right. Can you run the Go Train bi-levels? We'll see. I love those cars, but we do have a few requests that I want to go through at the moment. Hey SMT, do you know about how to quiet a noisy motor? I have a Brass Force 6.2 and it is very noisy. I've tried oiling it, watching your videos and others, but nothing has changed. Am I doing something wrong? Not necessarily. The truth with some engines is that they're just going to be loud, no matter how hard you work at it, unless you're like incredibly skilled at putting everything into perfect balance. Some of them are just going to be loud. But usually when a motor is noisy, it's because of the commutator or because the weights are out of balance. Like you've got, I'd imagine in a brass locomotive, you've probably got a flywheel, and these need to be perfectly centered, because if they're off balance, they'll act as a shake weight and they'll cause the motor to vibrate. And when that happens, that's where you get lots of noise issues. Trying to fix that issue is very complicated, unfortunately, so I can't really offer much advice, but that's likely where the problem's coming from. Hey SMT, how do you fix cracked gears in a Bachmann locomotive? I've never done this before, but there's another channel on YouTube called the Elite 134, I think their name is. And they did a video on how to do that. Basically, you clean the gears off with a degreaser to remove any lubricants. And then you put crazy glue on the crack, and you then put baking soda over that to solidify it. And then clamp it down, I guess, just to hold it until the glue dries. Again, I've never done that, but a lot of people have claimed they've been successful with that. So, something you can try. You don't really have much to lose if the gears are already broken. Hey SMT, do you have either a Berkshire 284 or an Amtrak P42? If so, can you run one later? I have a Berkshire, it doesn't run, but I do have a P42. Also, I seem to be getting a ton of requests for the Kraus Mafia, so we'll get that out as well. At some point, I also want to run the Interurban. Unfortunately, this thing's decoupled from its cars. It's running well, though. What are your thoughts on the air hose details on rolling stock and locomotives? I don't really have a problem with the detail. I mean, it's a cool thing, just as long as it doesn't interfere with the performance of the train. I don't see what's wrong with them. Any tips for modeling a layout? I would say the most important thing is making it exactly what you want. And the best way to do that, I would say, is figure out what it is you want. And, you know, go through model railroader magazines and look at other people's layouts. You know, just get inspiration from wherever it is you can. Write down a super long list of everything you like. And then, yeah, just try to kind of plan it all out. But don't take it so seriously that you can't enjoy it. That's probably the biggest mistake I see a lot of people making. It's like they get so overwhelmed with, you know, trying to build something perfect right from the start. And first of all, if you're enjoying the process of building it, it's not a problem if you have to redo things. But second of all, if you prevent yourself from building everything because you're so caught up in trying to make it perfect, it's not going to be enjoyable, and then the whole point of the hobby is enjoying it. So that would be my advice. Just make it what it is you want and kind of just make it up as you go along to some extent. I find that's where it's a lot of fun. Any trips to Smith Falls in the future? Well, apparently there's a train show happening in Smith Falls, I think on the 13th and 14th of August. I got an email from somebody surrounding that. So I'm going to try to make it out to that. Train show in my favorite town. Really can't say more. Hey, SMT, somebody impersonating you tried to scam me. Yeah, I got a lot of messages about that the other day. Somebody was trying to convince people that they were entered in a contest and message them on Telegram, and they'd set up this whole fake account and everything. It's quite alarming, unfortunately, but I got rid of all those comments, so I'm really sorry if anybody was confused by that. I don't know who caused that, but what can you do? If you're looking at getting into mostly vintage things, what suggestions do you have for manufacturers? If you want something that you can buy cheap and something that's going to be reliable, I'd probably recommend the blue box locomotives. Most of them have a motor mount which looks like that. You can identify them pretty easily. And you can buy those for $20 a piece at train shows. And generally, they're not going to let you down. It's good if you service them, but they're generally very tough locomotives. The old AHMs, this is not one, I was just checking on the wheels, but the old AHMs, IHC locomotives can be decent. They're not as high quality as the Athearn locomotives for sure, but they're cheaper usually. You can buy them for like $10 a piece. So they can be fine. And then you got the other manufacturers. Tyco is probably a manufacturer I'd avoid if you're looking for something reliable. If you just want something to mess around with, it can be a lot of fun, but they're not reliable engines. Bachmanns are kind of the same case. Lifelikes are slightly more reliable than both Bachmann and Tyco, but not by a crazy amount. So, yeah, be forewarned around some of those. But, again, if you buy them super cheap, you don't have to worry too much. This thing is very fast. Alright, let's see if we can get this a lap around the layout. Wow, what a quick engine. Do you have any trains from the Golden Spike? If so, can you run it? I'm sorry, I don't. Hey, SMT, can you please run the Union Pacific DD40X6922? Thank you. I suppose so. Did you ever fix that Great Northern RS3? No, it is still waiting to be repaired. How do you feel about S-scale trains? I don't know if it's the scale I would personally go with, just because trying to find S-scale stuff seems to be just about near impossible. It's a cool idea, and I think the fact that it uses HO track is really smart, because it makes it easier to find parts, but yeah, it's a cool concept. I don't know how practical it is as a scale, though. Maybe there's some N-scalers that aren't going to be thrilled about me saying that, but that's just what I think. Hello from Australia, SMT. Can you run the VR B-Class diesel electric? Yes, I don't see why not. Let's resort some of these cars a little bit. SMT, what are your opinions on Rapido Trains Inc.? In terms of their products, I think they make good stuff. I'm quite impressed with the detail of their products. And I'm a pretty big fan, too, of the guy who runs the company, Jason Schron. You know, he really does strike me as being a genuine railroader who actually really likes the products that they're putting out. You know, you can just tell there's a lot of passion there. And their message, too, is very good. It's despite the fact that they're making very realistic models, they have a very kind of relaxed opinion on how people should treat the hobby, which I think is really cool. So overall, I like them a lot. Their products are pretty pricey, but you get what you pay for. I find every Rapido product I've bought, I've been happy with. But they do come at a price. If you could build your dream railroad on HO's scale, what would it look like? Well, if you're saying if I build my dream layout, I don't want to sound arrogant saying this, but this is what I want exactly. If I had a bit more space, I'd probably expand it a little bit, but you know, it's like I've been saying throughout the live stream, you know, build your layout to be what you want, and this is what I want. And maybe to some people out there, it's not the ideal layout. It's not terribly realistic, that's for sure, but no, I would not trade this layout for any other one. It's just, I've built it to be what it is I'm looking for. Now, in terms of building my dream railroad, if you're talking about the Wakefield train, that's a whole other thing. It would look exactly like Wakefield, Quebec. Now. I was supposed to run something, and I can't really remember what. This one. Yes, there it is. What's your least favorite brand? Probably Bachmann. I don't hate Bachmann. Yeah, they do have some decent stuff, and they've definitely been improving over the years. And if you can find their stuff cheap, it's actually good. But the problem I have with them is I find their prices for the quality of stuff they're selling are very high. So if they were selling their stuff a little bit cheaper, I would probably be a huge fan of theirs. But because of that reason, they're not my favorite for sure. But least favorite does not mean hated. I want to make that clear. Sometimes I struggle with priorities. It's like time to pay for college or buy Rapido trains. One of the members at my model train club was joking about that because they have, I think it's something like an 80% discount for students. And he says, yeah, we go giving you guys all an 80% discount, but every week I see you walking in here with some new $400 Rapido locomotive. So it's funny how that works out. Hey SMT, can you please run an SD40-2? Sorry to ask this since I literally destroyed the chat with this request, but I love the SD40-2. We already ran one, so I'd prefer to run something else, but we'll see. I love Rapido's videos. Yeah, I like how they don't take the hobby too seriously. I don't know. I find for high-end manufacturers, you would expect them to be very serious people who would be, I don't know, sitting around a table and getting frustrated that one tree is not the right height or something like that, but they're not. So I think that's really cool. And recently, too, I was watching an interview with Jason Schron where he was on a train, and something this resonated with me so much. He said something along the lines of a person hand painting a caboose in their garage has just as much validity as somebody building from scratch a prototypical model. And I just think that's a fantastic message because it's like, you know, one person is obviously a lot more skilled and knowledgeable than the other one, but they're both still enjoying the hobby, which is ultimately what matters. So, you know, it's sort of roughly the message I've been kind of trying to relay in certain ways with building layouts, but I don't think it's ever been put such a good way. Can you run the Amazon CSX GP15? Yeah, sure. I haven't run that in a while. I don't know what's going on with this thing. It keeps derailing. Very strange. Have you ever heard of the Macwell Locomotive Company? They're trying to sell modern steam locomotives. I can't say I have, but that's a very interesting concept. Alright, I'm going to bring some of these locomotives back. I just remembered I was supposed to run an Amtrak P42. I don't know where I put that. It's right here, actually. So we'll get that going. How long do you plan to keep the channel running? Until 100K? I don't have any specific plans to stop making videos. I will say it's not always smooth sailing with the video production. You know, I do have lots of things going on in my personal life, and I do have problems sometimes trying to put them together, but I don't see a reason why I just want to stop it, especially if it hit a milestone like 100,000. I'd be very grateful for it to hit 100,000. I don't think I'd want to just pump the brakes there. I don't know. Gaining subscribers is not necessarily a scoreboard. An Amtrak pulling freight cars. Welcome to SMT Mainline. Have you ever thought of getting into 009 or HEE scale, and what do you recommend for someone trying to find good budget engines? Excuse my ignorance, but I don't know either of those scales. I've never heard of that before. As for buying budget locomotives, I would probably say you can find good deals online, but generally avoid buying stuff online if you're trying to buy stuff on a budget. Train shows are usually your best friend for trying to buy engines on a budget. So try to look out for train shows in your area. That's your best chance at finding something cheap. eBay, yeah. You can find good deals on eBay, and every time I bring up the whole argument that eBay is not the place to get the best deals, I have a million people sending me comments being like, SMT, that's ridiculous. I was on eBay and I bought this engine for $15, and they're not wrong. You can find good deals on eBay. I just find you have to look really, really hard to find a truly good deal, and the shipping rates on eBay are just astronomical. So when you take that into account, most of the time the deals are not that great. Versus a train show, you can go there and within 20 minutes have a handful of great locomotives which you bought at a great price. Now, I know train shows are not a permanent thing, you know, they come and go, so it's not practical if you're looking right away to search, but if you're willing to wait, that's where the deals are usually at. Hey SMT, I got a comment from an account saying it was yours, saying I had a chance to enter a giveaway, then a comment was deleted. I was wondering about it because you usually make a video. Yeah, that wasn't me. I don't know who's running that, but I think they were trying to pull off some sort of a scam. There's no giveaway going on right now. Well, I think we'll run something else now. I'm not sure what we should run because there have been a variety of requests. I guess we'll get the Walters one on. SMT Mainline, what if when Bachmann makes the buildings from Sonic? The buildings from, like, the Sonic restaurants where they roller skate up to your window? I hope they do. That would be really cool. I'm sure a lot of people would enjoy having that on their layout. We don't have Sonic in Canada, but they've got those in the States. Whenever I've been in Florida, I've seen them everywhere. Now, where is the GP15. It's right here. What's your favorite steam locomotive? The Hiawatha, probably. That or the E2 Swedish steam locomotive, which is a railway which used to operate somewhat locally years ago. 0009 is basically HO scale narrow gauge. That's funny, because I've heard of S scale, but I've never heard of that. The cheapest locomotive on Amazon. Yeah, that's right. Do you ever forget where you put one of your locomotives? It seems like it's easy to lose one in the collection. Yeah, it does happen. I'm trying to organize all of this so it can be a little bit easier to look through, but yeah, once in a while I'll have some trouble finding them. Why is it almost always freight even though you have a decent amount of passenger cars? It's just because most people, when you're running a passenger train, they want the train for that specific consist, versus freight cars you can kind of throw behind almost any locomotive except passenger engines and they look fine. So just trying to take passenger trains on and off the track. It just takes a really long time to take an entire passenger train on and off the track, and they take up a lot of space on the layout, and I just don't want to bore everybody with live streams spending most of the time taking trains on and off the track. He does not see every comment in it. Yeah, this happens about once a live stream. There's probably some people who haven't had their comments read. I really apologize. I try to read every single comment, but the truth is some comments do not get shown because I'm reading all these comments off a screen, which is about, 2.5 inches tall. It's not much space to read all the comments, so some comments don't get shown. So sorry about that, but I'm never intentionally ignoring anybody's comments unless they're inappropriate. So don't take it personally. It's not. It's just that can't read everybody's comments at the same time. You spend a lot of time on videos repairing locomotives. Do you spend much time trying to finish the scenery and complete the layout? There's definitely time and effort put into it, but there's way more time and effort put into fixing engines than working on the layout. That's undoubtedly true. Ever rail fan to New Brunswick? Can't say I have. What's the most expensive locomotive you have? I don't have it here right now, but it was an engine which actually cost me $600. It's not the kind of money I would pretty much ever spend on a locomotive, but it had sentimental value because it was actually based on the locomotive which used to run in my area, and I grew up with it, so that's kind of how I justified that. The simulator guy, thank you for reading my comment. Well, at least we're getting to some of you out there. Hey SMT, can you please run the cab forward? I have not seen it run on a stream yet. Yeah, also a lot of people have been requesting that I run a steam engine, so why not? Can you please run a GG1? Maybe so. What do you think about the 60s to 90s Finnish locomotives, if you know anything about them? I don't know a whole lot about Finnish railways. I wish I did, but yeah, I'm not super familiar with what they operate. Did you ever fix the locomotives you got from the train store recently? No, I haven't got the chance yet. And considering most of them don't run whatsoever, I'm probably going to end up making videos on repairing those and or doing a live stream repairing them. It's not a particular rush. I mean, I want to get them back to the store so the guy can sell them off, obviously, but you know, the truth is I only have so much time. Of all the engines you work on, what is the best made brand? I know I sound like a broken record, but it's got to be the Blue Box Locomotives. I don't know if they're the highest quality out there. They're certainly not high quality in terms of detail, but in terms of an engine that's really straightforward to work on and has high quality parts which generally don't break, it's got to be the Blue Boxes. All right, well, I think we'll take that off the track and we'll put on the cab forward. That's not the cab forward, that's the big boy. I picked up the wrong engine, sorry about that. What's your favorite piece of scenery? I'm quite a big fan of this side of the layout. The rest of it's all fine, but I don't know. I'm quite attached to all this area here. Hey, SMT, are you ever going to go back to Rob's Hobby World? I don't have any plans to. If I'm ever out in Ocala, Florida again, probably so. But I went down there. I was in Florida, I guess it was the end of April. I think it was around the end of April. Anyways, I was down in Florida, and I planned to go there. I had the car, everything, all set up. And then I realized something, which is that it was Valentine's Day, and the store was closed. So I didn't get the chance to go, and then I was leaving Florida the next day, so I never got the opportunity, unfortunately, but the opportunity should show itself again. Yeah, I don't see why not. Have you ever gone to Milwaukee? I never have. I've been to a variety of different states. I've never been around there yet. I saw a music stand in the corner. Do you play any instruments? I used to play piano a long time ago, but unfortunately that's kind of fallen by the wayside. My sister was into playing the fiddle. She did that for a while, but that also, unfortunately, eventually fell by the wayside. The only song I can play these days is Marshmallow World. You know the old Dean Martin song? I kind of just learned that as a party trick of sorts. What other hobbies do you have? Pretty big into boats. I like the boats. Kind of horseback riding, I guess. Paddle boarding. Economics. That one's super exciting, I can tell you that. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. What do you think of Metra's weird plan to red gear some SD70 Max? I don't know what red gearing means. Hey, SMT, if you could bring one locomotive class back from the dead, what would it be? Whatever the Hiawatha was. How much did the railroad crossing cost? I don't know. It was a gift from my grandparents. Trains on the go. Hello, hello. I just watched the video on your Australian B class again. Such a cool locomotive. Re-gear. Oh. Do you mean repower? Do you like the Tomy play rail range? I assume you're talking about the Thomas stuff. I never had any of the Tomy stuff when I was a kid. What DCC controller do you use? It's the DCS51 by Digitrax. Can you run the Roco locomotive you got from the train show you've been to 3 months ago? This one? I don't see why not. What's the blue and white flag in the back? That is the flag for the province of Quebec. Regearing is where you switch out the gearbox so you have less torque, more speed, more optimized for pulling passenger cars. Yeah, no, I know how gear reductions work. I just don't understand why they would do that, because metro locomotives don't haul freight as far as I know, so I didn't really understand that. And I don't know, maybe they weren't as good at measuring what the best gear ratio was for passenger trains back then, whenever they built them. I don't know. Alright, so now we're going to try to run this. It's a locomotive which I got at a train show for $3 or something like that, which was a heck of a good deal for a Roco. I really couldn't believe it, but the guy just kind of wanted to get rid of it, really. Now we're going to try to run it. Like a charm. Metro only likes to buy EMDs. They will not buy anything else. It's honestly funny at this point. I'm going to see you later. Thanks for stopping by. Fun fact, the Hiawatha was supposed to be saved by a city in Wisconsin, but they declined it because it looked too much like a diesel to them. Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I remember hearing that at the time railway museums wanted to have nothing to do with the Hiawathas because they were too modern at the time, which is so silly because, of course, everything is modern in its current time, but you give it 50 years and all of a sudden, you know, it starts to become vintage, right? So that's just what they thought back then. A real shame, though. Seems like you have a lot of problems with your track. Maybe consider a special relaying it. It's really just because it's been patched onto a lot of time and the temperatures changed down here quite a bit. The basement is actually a lot warmer during the winter months than it is the summer months, which may seem counterintuitive, but the basement's sunk in the ground, right? So it's already cold down here. And then when it gets hot outside, we start running the air conditioners, so the basement becomes even colder. And when that happens, all the joints in the rails open up, and it can cause funny things to happen with the track. Just curious, do you have an F59 PHI? I have two. They're pretty cool to watch when running, especially if one by Athearn. I don't think I do. I personally think you should run the Acela at full speed at least once per stream. Yes, that sounds like a recipe for success. The SD70s are much stronger and can pull more reliably. Honestly, it's better for locomotives to be dual purpose. Have you heard of the T1 Trust? Absolutely. This channel was involved with a fundraiser for them a few months ago. We did a live stream, and I think we were all successful between everybody individually contributing and a donation of $200 from the channel at raising a total of $500 for them. What is the full cost of your layout? I don't have a clue. Finnish Railways, VR/Valton. I can't pronounce that last part. used Finnish-made locomotives in the 60s to the 90s. We had DV15s, DV16s, and still DV12s from the late 60s to late 70s. We also had the SR1 and lots of others. Well, I just learned the most history I have about Finnish railways for the first time in my life. Do you think it's worth buying a Kato-9 used in good shape for 80 bucks? Yeah, that doesn't seem like a bad deal. If it's running well, I don't think you'd be disappointed. Make sure it has the handrails and everything if it's not put together, but the Kato locomotives are robust, and I find usually a used Kato engine will retail for about $100, so if you found one for 80, that seems about right in terms of price, in my opinion. Was that the 1985 runaway train contest I saw? Yes, it is. I remember the last time you ran the Acela at full speed on the layout. Well, I haven't had a derailment since then. Dude doesn't know how much he expanded in his set. True IQ enjoyer. He doesn't care about prices. Well, it's not that I necessarily don't care. It's just that I started this when I was a kid, and so a lot of the buildings and stuff I got back then, I got when I was a kid as gifts, so I didn't pay for them, and it's hard to keep track of stuff you bought 15 years ago, you know, what you paid for it and everything. Most of the stuff I buy, I want it more than whatever it is I paid for it, otherwise I wouldn't buy it, so it's worth it. Ryan Crooks, hello. I'm a very curious person, and is it possible to run a lifelike locomotive on Kato track? I don't see why not. It's actually one of the greatest things about this hobby is that you can run a Tyco engine, which is the most unrealistic thing on the planet, right beside a Broadway Limited on the same track. It's pretty much all cross-compatible with the exception of AC and DC track. AC track is not very common in North America, so it's not something you usually have to worry about here. How long ago did you make the 1985 runaway train contest? Also, Kato locomotives are pretty good in my experience. I have an SD40 and it runs like new. It definitely isn't new though. That's what I've heard from so many people. Most people who collect Katos say that they're just tanks. They last forever. It's very, very rare I hear somebody saying something. I don't even know if I ever have heard somebody say something bad about a Kato locomotive. Whenever people talk about them, it seems to all be positive. Now, to answer your question about how long ago it was I made the runaway train, I think it was like December of 2018. Yeah, it was. I just joined the train club, so it was sometime around the end of 2018. Can you show your cat? I would if I knew where he was right now, but I don't. What happened to the scrap steam locomotive Yellowstone? Nothing at the moment, but the project's not abandoned. I still want to finish it. It's just, it's going to be a big one, and unfortunately, I just don't have the time at the moment. My birthday's in 2 days. Happy birthday in advance, Deanna Scott. Hey Harrison, I'm in Gatineau and I might be selling my collection. I have tons of HO scale locomotives in rolling stock. Let me know if you want to check some of the stuff out. Are you the guy on Facebook Marketplace with the massive Canadian Pacific collection that's being sold off right now? I have seen that, if it's the case. It is true, one must like their hobby. Having said that, I'm sure you have close to 5 figures in your locomotive collection alone. Yeah, I don't know, maybe. AC track is used for DCC. It can be used for DCC, but that's not true. Like, this is the same track you use for DC power, and it's still DCC. I would love to get back into model trains, but they are way too expensive now. It is a challenge, I would say, to get back into the hobby, or into the hobby at all right now on a budget. Everything is very pricey, but it's not impossible. You know, if you're willing to take your time and look around, you can find used stuff at a real discount and start something off for not a crazy amount. It depends where you look. Trains can be very cheap. I bought a clean DCC C&W locomotive for $70. Yeah, it really is just how long you look. What do you think is a good price for a fixer-upper F unit? Just wondering, I've been on the market for one. I mean, it would depend on the manufacturer, but generally the price that I like to pay for a junked engine, something that doesn't run or it runs really rough, is about $15. That's the average price. So usually when I go on eBay to buy a large lot of locomotives, the way I tell if it's a good deal is I first combined the total cost of the trains, the tax, the shipping, and in some cases, if I'm bringing it from America, the import duties. So I tally up all those things, and then I count how many engines are in the lot. And if they're intact, they have all the parts, you know, they're not just shells or something. I just value them all out at a price of usually $15. And you just add them up and you see if the price is better in terms of value than whatever the shipping and taxes and everything else is. Well, I'm not really sure what to run. Can you run it? We already ran the Canadiana. Somebody did want me to run the Centennial, but oh, it's right up there actually. Why not? What kind of computer do you edit on? It's a MacBook Pro 15-inch 2015 Locomotive 15-inch computer. I know a lot of people are not big fans of Apple, but it gets the job done real well. It's actually pretty powerful too. My local flea market has a brass Atchison Topeka Santa Fe HO2 1010-2 for $150. Thinking about grabbing it though. I do N scale. Ooh, I can see how that would be a tricky thing. $150 for a 1010-2 though. I mean, those are not common locomotives that if it runs and it's made of, yeah, if it's made of brass, I think it's probably worth that. Anyways, let's give this thing some power. Laptop train. I'm too tired to be doing these streams sometimes. That's very weird. There we go. I bought that pancake motor Amtrak number 350. You made a video about it. I picked it up for $5. Crazy what you can find nowadays. Well, it's sort of a funny time right now because you've got a lot of manufacturers. Like there is not really any manufacturer making truly budget equipment anymore, but there's also a lot of used stuff popping up on the market because what's happening is a lot of people who are into modeling, you know, something more realistic, they don't want that stuff. They don't want the Tychos and the Bachmanns and the Lifelikes. To them, that's junk. So there's a ton of it popping up right now, and you got a lot of estates and things like that too. So like some of the train stores like Larkspur, they do sell brand new stuff for the people who are looking for the brand new realistic stuff, but for the most part they just sell used stuff now because it's the cheapest part of the hobby. While browsing eBay, I saw a brass F-45. I think it was super oxidized and looked like some ancient treasure was found at the bottom of the sea. You do find some stuff on eBay and it's in just terrible condition. Honestly, though, whenever I'm looking on eBay, just as long as it's at a good price, the worse the better. I love the stuff from the 40s, which is in really, really bad shape. It's just interesting, and I find actually opening it up fascinating, trying to get it all working again, especially if it looks like something that it's something that looks impossible to get going again. Like, that's the most exciting project as far as I'm concerned. If somebody recognizes these lyrics, you're a legend. Okay, I don't see the lyrics though. A legend from the past is born again to last, to rumble over the mountains and the plains. I feel ashamed to say I don't think I've ever heard that one. How's the layout looking? It's a little messy right now, but I've actually been reorganizing the basement and shelves and things like that, so the area around it I think is getting better. Yeah, I'm considering that 21010-2, it goes on eBay for $1,200. I'd believe it. I mean, most people are probably not willing to pay $1,200 for it, but I'd say it's easily worth more than $150. Sometimes I accidentally break a model train. I feel like all my trains will become self-aware and get revenge on their lost comrades. It might just be me. I wouldn't worry about that kind of thing too much. But what do I know? It's been a good while since I've watched your content, SMT. I just got back into it. Well, today, so how's the night treating you, my good man? Oh, things are going pretty well. Thanks for joining in. That's the Big Boy song. I didn't know there was a song written for the Big Boy. If trains did become self-aware, you, SMT, would have quite the experience. Yeah, it does not sound like a good situation. I mean, I fixed a lot of them, but I've also broken a ton of them too. We need Johnny Cash, the guy who drove a train once. I never knew Johnny Cash drove a train. That's so cool. Johnny Cash is just a legend. I love all of his songs. Ha, made it over the dead spot that time. Can you run the daylight? Unfortunately, my daylight's still not running at the moment. I listen to Wang Chung's Everybody Have Fun Tonight sometimes when I run trains. That's the best song ever. I don't care what people say. Wang Chung rocks. What is your camera? It's an iPhone 11 Pro. Does anybody know that one video, staged UP train crashing into a bus where a great big rolling railroad? That sounds kind of dark. What's your favorite train song? Well, it is a Johnny Cash song. It's the Rock Island Line by Johnny Cash. Starts off real slow and it gets going really quick. Another one I like is by a local artist named Freddie Dixon. It's called The Kick and Push. That's a lesser known song, though. I doubt anybody's heard that one. Sometimes we'll put on dance all days too. Yeah, it's a good one. I don't know. Why don't we try running this thing? Actually, I said I was going to run those go-cars earlier, so I guess we'll get those going. When's the next train show vendor meet you plan on attending? I think it's in Smith Falls on the 15th or 14th. I could be wrong on those dates, but I think they're having a train show at the Railway Museum of Eastern Ontario. And yeah, I'd love to go to that. Any excuse to go to Smith Falls. Did you say the Rock Island Line SMT? Why, yes, I think it was sung on I Love Toy Trains. The Rock Island Line is pretty cool. If I'm thinking of the right one. Yeah, it's the one that's like, well, the Rock Island Line, she's a mighty good road. Rock Island Line, it's the road to ride. It gets going real quick. I've Been Everywhere by Johnny Cash. Stomp and Tom Connors did a very good cover of that too. Wabash Cannonball. That's a terrific song by Johnny Cash. He mentioned Toronto, so that's cool. Yeah, referencing Canada. Not bad, not bad. I've been subscribed for 3 years. Oh, thank you. Glad to see you still stop by. It's really nice to see people who have, you know, been here for 5 years, 6 years. Like, it's crazy. My family is mad because now I say A at the end of a question because I watch your videos. Oh, you're going and developing one of those Canadian accents. The funny thing is, though, my dad grew up in Canada his entire life, and as so, he has a Canadian accent. A lot of people tell our family that whenever we're in the States. Are you guys from Canada? But he was at a store in Maine, and he was walking past somebody, and somebody said, "Are you from Michigan too?" And he technically is, because he was born there, but he never grew up there. So it was funny. They mistook a Canadian accent as a Midwest accent. I guess they sound similar sometimes, but I thought that was pretty funny. The Wreck of Old 97. Yeah, it's a good song. Do you have the switchers wired up? Some of them are. If you're talking about with actual motors, though, this is the only one I've got. I mean, I live pretty close to the Ambassador Bridge. I think I have a slight Canadian accent, but I cannot say for sure. Well, it's also hard to tell because when you're in the States, like when you're in Florida, people sound very different from the way they do in Maine. New Englanders definitely have a very distinctive accent, that's for sure. When I was visiting my dad in Missouri, he took me to an old power plant. I rail-fanned an intermodal BNSF with 7 locomotives. All cars except 2 were double-deckered with containers. Wow. Wreck of the Edmonds Fitzgerald. That's I mean, it's a dark song, but very well done. I guess on the topic, too, of songs about disasters, 30,000 Pounds of Bananas by Harry Chapin. Chaplin? Chapin? I don't know which way his last name is pronounced, but yeah, the song about Scranton, Pennsylvania. He did a very good job with that. Do you have any working 462s? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Scranton, I hear the Office theme playing in the back of my head. Yeah, the town certainly has, I guess, some history with that show. It was pretty cool when I went down to Scranton. They did film scenes, or at least they were supposed to take place at places like the Steamtown Mall and stuff. And they actually took the sign from the intro of The Office, and they placed it inside the Steamtown Mall, so people could go in and take pictures with it. It's pretty cool. What are you using to record, and what's your oldest engine? I'm using an iPhone 11 Pro to record. My oldest engine might be this Varney one. I don't know exactly what year it was made, but some have told me it was from the late 40s. The oldest one I'm aware of having is the Hiawatha. It's a 1951 model, and I could tell that because when I had to buy parts, there were slight variations throughout the years, and I concluded, based on comparing mine to the pictures, that that was a 51 model. Do the Burlington Northern locomotives go well with the Go Box cars? I mean, it would make sense. I wish that had a coupler. That might work. How about the 100-year-old Lionel locomotive? That's the oldest engine I've ever worked on, but it doesn't belong to me. That actually is owned by my buddy Liam, and I fixed it for him, and he's now taking it back, so I do not have that engine anymore. How do you upgrade rolling stock to gray metal wheels? It's pretty easy. You can buy boxes of wheels. I know Rapido sells them. I believe Walters does too, for freight cars specifically. And you just pull the plastic parts out, pop in the new pieces. It's very, very straightforward. I did a video on it a while back. I wish I could remember the name, but I think it's called Rapido Bits or something like that. SMT, I have about 600 pieces of track, 15 engines to send to you. Should I email you for your address? They're a few years old, retired HO scale. I've N scale now and needed to downsize. Yeah, sure. If you want to send an email to scrumptiousmodeltrains@gmail.com, I'd be happy to discuss the details of that. No politics, please. Yeah, exactly. We're just here for the trains. mean, I know other topics do come up on this channel, but I wouldn't consider talking about Johnny Cash and Stompin' Tom Connors to be controversial. How do you DM somebody? I don't know, go on Instagram and then you click a button that says message. Wow, that did not go well. I'm getting old 60s Tyco and Lionel trains from a family member all in a box. What are the chances of them running? I would say decent. I think the 60s was before Tyco came out with their infamous power torque motors, which were notorious for having problems. Before that, they had the MU2 motors, which are fairly reliable. So it might work. And the Lionels from the 60s, I think, are pretty similar to the ones from the 50s. I'm less knowledgeable on that because they're O scale, but I would say they all have a decent chance of running. I was thinking about making a video, though, particularly addressing, how to handle a locomotive which has been in storage for a long time, because I get that comment a lot. Like, my dad had trains when he was a kid. I took him out of storage, what's the deal? And most of the time, if an engine was working before you put it away, sitting 50 years is not necessarily going to break it, but the lubricants might dry out and the metal contacts might oxidize. Those are the two things which usually cause issues for an engine which has been sitting for a super long time. Why are you acting like I'm not in the stream? I promise everybody in here I'm not ignoring anybody's comments, but some don't get shown for whatever reason. I don't know why. Does anyone remember the time he had a British locomotive motor burnout on one of the live streams? I sure do, but it didn't burn out. It was the commutator problem, which I mention a million times every stream. There was too much carbon buildup. This is a great example. Look at this. I need to find some good light to show you all. See how there's stuff between those two plates? That's bad. So that's what happened to that British engine. The coils were fine, but not the commutator. Can you speak French? Not really. I should. I have an unopened Tyco set, and I have no idea whether to sell it or open it. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, if you really want to earn some money, those Tyco sets will probably appreciate in value. That would be my money. That's what I'd put my money on. But then again, is it really worth it? Like, if it's something that's been in your family or something, you really want the money that much? That's a lot of carbon buildup. Joella Westerfeld, hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Welcome to the live stream. That's a lot of damage, so I use Flex Seal. Well, I don't know how much Flex Seal is going to fix a busted up commutator, but apparently you can build a boat out of it, so that's alright. What do you think of the running quality of 80s Athearn Blue Boxes? They're okay. They're not quiet. They're very loud, usually because of the weights being out of balance. And, yeah, that's their main issue. They're loud. But they don't perform too bad. You can do relatively low speeds in them. They don't usually lose power too easily, like stutter, because they've got the flywheels. They don't derail too often too. They're pretty good for that. So the main issue is just really how they look and the sound they make. What was your very first locomotive? Oh, I'm gonna find this and we're gonna try to run it. I was thinking about this earlier today. All right, here it is. You can probably tell just by having a look at it. It's had some miles put on it. I'm not gonna hook it up to the cars because I don't want to strain the drive too much, but yeah, we'll see if it will start or not. I hope so. Yeah, I like that. I don't think much puts a bigger smile on my face than seeing this thing still kicking after all these years. I mean, I ran the snot out of this as a kid, but she still goes. There's some miracle. I don't know how. That lifelike drive is probably in really bad shape, but yeah, she's still kicking. Try not to drop the thing on the ground. You ever rail fan? Not much. There's not a whole lot in the Ottawa area to rail fan other than Via Rail. Hey SMT, I got an idea where you take your GO train and stick a Rick roll in front of it to make the engine go mad in some animation. I don't think I could come up with an idea like that if I sat in a room for 10 hours and tried. Who goes there? In terms of railroads, it's Canadian National. But that's pretty much it, because we have Walkley Yard, which is our freight yard, but Ottawa is so unindustrialized. We've lost so much of our manufacturing. It's mostly offices here, so we just don't really have the reason to, to have freight service anymore. So CN doesn't want to continue operations to Walkley because it's costing them more to maintain the railroad than it is, making them money. So hopefully, I would love for like the Quebec and Gatineau Railway to buy it out, but I don't know how likely that is. Where do you find out when train shows or train meets happen? I've had a hard time looking for small town shows throughout Ontario. It's really hard to find. Sometimes if you just do general searches like train shows Ontario and stuff, you'll find things like that. But a lot of the time it's word of mouth. And my train buddy Nick is very in tune with that stuff. I don't know where he gets the information, but he's really good at finding out when a train show's coming along. So he's usually the one who's like, Harrison, there's a train show happening. And I haven't heard a thing about it. But yeah, the unfortunate thing is a lot of the organizers of these train shows are just not great with social media and promoting them. They're very good at organizing them, putting them together, getting the people there, but they're just not that great at promoting them, unfortunately. I'm not really sure what to run right now. Can you run the Indiana Railroad? I don't think I have anything from them. Can you run the Quebec engine? Yes. So this is technically my local railroad. It's actually, I could go rail fan this because they're still running trains to the mill here in Gatineau. But the schedule is once every 2 weeks or something for the train, so I'd have to know when to see it. But I think this exact engine has been in Gatineau before. Saskatchewan's pretty good for high-paced trains rolling through, but they're gone in the blink of an eye. I mean, I don't live there, so maybe it depends on where you are, but when I was out in Saskatchewan, traveling across the country, I found the trains just went on forever. Most of them were hauling oil, and it was just car after car after car. It seemed like it never reached the end. It was crazy. Handrails on that engine are funky. I got this when I was quite young, and I did not do a very good job at taking care of it, unfortunately. I don't know. I was like 9 or something like that. It's also become disconnected from those cars. I think I'm just going to let it push the cars. I don't think it's going fast enough to derail them. Yeah. I'm lucky enough to see 4449 in person. That must have been quite an experience. That's something I want to see at some point in my life. Handrails are kind of annoying in that way. I can relate to that. The ones on this engine are in such bad shape and missing. I might just buy a set of Athearn ones and just rip them off this engine, throw some paint on, and call it a day, because like, I just don't even know how much there really is to salvage here. Like, look at this. It's ridiculous. And I also lost one of the radiator things. I really wish I had taken better care of this engine, because it's limited run, like the rare. But that's stuff I did when I was younger. Can't go back and change it, unfortunately. 4449 was in a movie. I think it was in 2 movies. It was in Tough Guys, but I'm pretty sure in the 90s or so it was in another movie. What was the make of this unit? It's an Atlas locomotive. Broken handrails make it look old and weathered. I don't know. I find most trains you see out that are looking a little worn usually have their handrails. I mean, they're a safety feature. You can't really just go without them unless maybe it's some sketchy railroad in a place where there aren't as many rules. Plastic railings are lousy. I agree with that. The old Athearn handrails are pretty tough. Sometimes if you bump them, you might bend them, but you can usually just bend them back into place. The plastic ones crack, so that's no good. Railfan Logan, happy birthday. 'Cause apparently it's tomorrow. Did you hear about the potash train which jumped the track in New Brunswick last August? No, I never heard about that. I had a dream of running 4449 when I was a kid. I didn't know at that point it was pretty much impossible. Still my favorite locomotive. Hopefully someday I can see it in person. I went to see 4449 in Portland a while ago. It's definitely a sight to see. So is the Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad. Either made an exclusive CSX AAA, or not 888s. Yeah, the train with 4 8s in the number that ran away in 2001. I think it would make a great addition for your collection. I've been on the market for one. Getting rapido locomotives out of the box at the moment. That's fun. You need to get a Go engine to make a complete set. I have one. I was actually running it earlier in the live stream. What are the white trains in the layout? Those are the runaway train consist from the 1985 movie Runaway Train. The other movie that 4449 was in was called Come See the Paradise. Sorry, guys. Not gonna lie, I liked the weathering they did for the 4449. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I had thought when they made that movie, they had painted it back to the War Baby paint scheme before weathering it. Maybe I'm mistaken on that, but I think they did make it look very rough for that movie. Crazy Eights, that was the name of it, yeah. I was mixing up 777 and 888 because Crazy Eights is what I guess Unstoppable was based off of. Saw a freight train crossing Robertson Road in Nepean today. I'm amazed to hear that. CSX really didn't like Crazy Eights. Well, I'm sure it was a PR nightmare for the railroad, and that probably could have gone south pretty quickly if people hadn't acted quick enough. Elisa Joseph, welcome to the live stream. Canadian Pacific 97777 was a WVR 777. I didn't know that it was the same number. I did know it was a Canadian Pacific locomotive, though. Someone probably got fired after Crazy Eights. I'm sure a few people probably did. I mean, a train running away like that is not a small deal. Canadian Pacific has stolen containers from the Canadian National Sussex Hub. Really? I mean, I don't know about that, but it was either CN tried to take away Kansas City Southern from the other. I don't even know if that deal ever went through, but yeah. Can you do some shunting? I don't have a working shunting yard right now. What does SMT mean? It means scrumptious model trains. Canadian Pacific won and Union Pacific is mad about the merger. Well, Canadian National should probably be more frustrated because they're the ones who had the railroad they were putting together a deal with taken from under them. Can you run a New Haven locomotive that isn't an E7? Yes. This is a blue box, I think. That is not, but they have a very similar drive, so I'm going to hope that these engines can run the same speed. So if they can, I can just run them at the same time, and I don't even have to stop anything. Trying to do this one-handed is kind of a nightmare. This is the one thing about the blue boxes which I don't really like. It's these truck covers, they pop off all the time. This locomotive is not running very well. Run your Hershey train with all the rolling stock that goes with it. I should, but the rolling stock still hasn't been fixed. Most of those cars are missing wheels and things like that. It's funny, I don't remember this thing running so bad. Wheels are looking a bit dirty. That's probably where the issue is. Needs maintenance. Yeah, probably. Put some power in the wheels and... Well, we could do that right now, actually. Why not? Let's clean this up a tiny bit. That would be good. Ooh, it's a super engine. She has some miles on her, I can tell you that. No, wait. What are we waiting for? I got a good idea. I'll put this up here and then everybody can watch the train go by as I work on this locomotive here. Let's polish up that. So just mirror the stream lag. My phone could be running low on battery. I'll probably finish this up in a few minutes, to be honest with all of you, because it's getting late, and I'm sure everybody trying to sleep upstairs is probably not appreciative of me staying up this late and talking on this live stream, but we'll keep it going for a little longer. So that doesn't look bad. What is bad, though, is that these contact strips are, I think, on the wrong side. Yeah, these are not. That's probably why this engine's not running that well, honestly. Pretty sure they're supposed to go under, though. Let's bend that up. Should be slightly better. Seems okay. This seems a little odd. That's what we're looking for. Have you ever been over the U.S.-Canadian border? Well, I've been to the States every year. I've been alive multiple times a year usually. I visit the States a lot. America's my second home, undoubtedly. This engine's definitely low on power. Something just does not seem quite right about it. I'm gonna see if I can find my track brake though. I have a feeling that would do a better job at polishing up these wheels. There goes another truck cover. Okay, there we go, full power. Oh, no. Okay, well, this is worse than I thought. It's funny, these blue boxes don't usually give me trouble like that, but this one's in worse shape than what would meet the eye. Gears need to be checked. I think they're slightly stripped because it's weird that I was able to hold the wheel set in place. And we'll try it again. This is not a particularly strong controller either, so it's probably part of the reason it's not running well, but yeah, I think I'm gonna try taking the easy route out of cleaning those wheels. Probably needs new axles. It very well could. Wow. Absolutely nothing. I think the motor is loose too. Let's try manually holding that down. Okay, so the electrics are definitely not great. Let's see if we can just get her moving on the rear trucks. Another, oh wait, no, never mind. Same truck cover. I thought we lost another one. Okay, yeah, there we go. And it just does not seem inclined to want to go. Even when I manually try to hold it in place. I think it's getting better. Oh yeah. That definitely helped. Okay, let's see now that we got that side cleaned if we can do the other one. Nope. Still completely out on that side. So weird. I guess we'll see if it at least runs half decent now. I think this thing probably needs a full rebuild, honestly. Like, it doesn't run half bad. It's just low on power. Like, it's not running on all cylinders, that's for sure. I think the power is on and off. So the motor is getting enough power to run. It's just not getting enough power to reach top speed. So that's going to be a project because that, I think, needs a little bit of work. But anyway, we're almost 11:30 at night, so I think I'm going to finish off the live stream. Thank you all so much for joining in this evening. It's been a lot of fun running all the trains. I hope you all enjoyed. And with that, I'll wish you all a wonderful night. All right, bye everyone.